I had been reading the Bible for over 30 years, but it wasn't until I died that I truly discovered which verse mattered most, the one we should all remember above all others. Because I was personally shown by Jesus himself a single verse that explains his entire plan, purpose and love from Genesis to Revelation. And once you hear it, your faith will never be the same again. Before we begin, please comment on your name and the city you're watching from, so we know we are not alone, and so the Lord can see that his children are still seeking his presence. And don't forget to subscribe to join our community of 50,000 hearts turned toward God, sharing sacred truths the world would rather keep hidden. Now let us walk together, guided by the verse that explains it all. My name is Harper, a pastor for over 30 years in a small church in Charlotte, North Carolina. On a warm Sunday morning, I stood at the pulpit, preaching fervently about holiness and the dangers of a lukewarm faith. My voice rang with conviction, warning the congregation against half-hearted devotion to God. Then, a sharp pain pierced my chest, my vision blurred, and I collapsed, my Bible slipping from my hands. As my body hit the floor, gasps filled the sanctuary, but I was no longer there. My soul lifted, weightless, leaving behind the chaos of the moment. I entered a realm where no words or rituals could hide the truth of my heart. This was not the end, but the beginning of a journey that would strip away my illusions. The air around me felt alive, heavy with a presence I couldn't name. My life, my sermons, my judgments flashed before me, raw and unfiltered. I sensed a force pulling me deeper, toward a truth I wasn't ready to face. My heart raced, knowing I was about to meet the one I'd preached about for decades. The sanctuary faded, replaced by a void that was neither dark nor light, but alive with awareness. I felt exposed, every thought and deed laid bare. The journey had begun, and there was no turning back. God was calling me to see myself, not as a pastor, but as a soul in need of his grace. The void parted, revealing a mirror of my soul, and what I saw shattered me. For 30 years, I'd preached God's word, but pride, judgment, and hypocrisy had taken root in my heart. I believed my title as pastor made me righteous, yet I'd wielded scripture like a weapon, wounding those I was called to love. A voice, gentle yet piercing, echoed within me, "You used my name, but not my heart." Scenes from my life unfolded, each a painful revelation of my failures. I saw a young girl in my church, shamed for wearing a short skirt, her eyes brimming with tears as I scolded her. I remembered a single mother, ostracized for her struggles, whom I dismissed as unworthy. Worst of all, I saw my own daughter, labeled a disgrace for her pregnancy, her heart broken by my harsh words. Each memory cut deeper, not as accusations, but as truths I'd ignored. The air grew heavy, thick with the weight of their pain, which I now felt as my own. My soul ached, realizing I'd built a religion of rules, not love. The voice returned, soft but firm, urging me to see the cost of my actions. I stood in a vast space, surrounded by the echoes of those I'd hurt. Their faces lingered, not condemning, but pleading for the compassion I'd withheld. My pride crumbled, replaced by a longing to undo the harm I'd caused. I fell to my knees, tears streaming, begging for forgiveness I didn't deserve. The atmosphere shifted, the air vibrating with a holy presence. I sensed God's nearness, not as a judge, but as a father grieving my choices. My heart burned with shame, yet a spark of hope flickered within. This was not the end, but a chance to confront the truth of my faith. I saw myself preaching, my words sharp, my heart cold, more concerned with control than salvation. The congregation's faces appeared, some wounded, others hardened by my rigidity. The voice whispered again, "Love is my way, not judgment." My soul trembled, realizing how far I'd strayed from God's heart. The scenes continued, each a lesson in my failure to reflect Christ's love. I recalled a man who left the church, broken by my criticism, never to return. His pain became mine, a weight I couldn't bear. I prayed, a desperate plea, for God to show me how to love that as he does. The air pulsed, alive with the weight of my sins, yet it carried a promise of redemption. I saw the faces of those I'd judged, their stories unfolding like open books. My heart softened, yearning to heal what I'd broken. The voice urged me forward toward a truth that would change everything. The space around me seemed to breathe, its rhythm aligned with God's will. I felt small, exposed, yet held by a love greater than my failures. The journey was just beginning, and I was ready to face what lay ahead. The truth of my heart was clear, and I could no longer hide. The air grew warmer, the presence stronger, guiding me toward a light in the distance. My soul ached, but it was a cleansing pain, stripping away years of pretense. I prayed again, for courage to embrace the truth God was revealing. The mirror of my soul was unrelenting, but it was leading me to Him. The echoes of my past lingered, a reminder of the harm I'd caused. Yet the voice, steady and kind, promised a path to restoration. My heart beat with a new resolve, to live not for myself, but for His love. I stepped forward, the air alive with purpose, ready to meet the one who knew me fully. The space expanded, the light brighter, drawing me closer to a divine encounter. My sins weighed heavy, but the promise of grace was stronger. I was no longer the pastor I'd been, but a soul seeking God's heart. The truth was unfolding, and I was ready to listen. The light enveloped me, and there He stood, Jesus, radiant with a presence that needed no throne or angels. His eyes held eternity, piercing through every layer of my soul, yet filled with a love that disarmed my fear. No words were spoken, but His being unveiled the hypocrisy and dead religion within me. I stood bare, my heart exposed, overwhelmed by the truth of who He was. His presence was a mirror, reflecting not just my sins but the pain I'd inflicted on others. I felt the young girl's shame, the single mother's rejection, my daughter's heartbreak, as if their wounds were mine. Tears streamed down my face, my soul trembling under the weight of their suffering. Jesus remained silent, His gaze steady, inviting me to see without condemnation. The air was alive, vibrating with a holiness that stripped away my defenses. I saw my sermons, my judgments, my pride, all crumbling in His light. My heart ached, realizing I'd preached His name but missed His love. Yet His eyes held no anger, only a call to truth. I fell to my knees, unable to bear the weight of my failures. The ground beneath was warm, pulsing with life, as if creation itself mourned my choices. Jesus stepped closer, His presence a balm, soothing my broken spirit. Still, He spoke no words, letting His truth do the work. The scenes of my life replayed, each moment a lesson in love I'd failed to learn. I saw the faces of those I'd hurt, their pain now a part of me, undeniable. My soul cried out, longing to rewrite the past. Jesus' silence was louder than any sermon, urging me to feel, to understand. The air grew denser, the light brighter, as if amplifying the truth He revealed. I saw myself as I truly was, a pastor who'd built walls instead of bridges. My heart broke, but it was a necessary breaking, clearing space for something new. Jesus' presence promised healing if I would surrender. I felt the weight of my daughter's tears, her heart shattered by my words. The memory was vivid, her pain cutting deeper than any physical wound. I whispered a prayer, asking for her forgiveness, for a chance to make it right. Jesus' gaze softened, His love a steady anchor in my storm. The space around me seemed to expand, the light pulsing with divine purpose. I saw the church, my congregation, their faces marked by my harshness. My soul ached to reach them, to replace judgment with compassion. Jesus' silence urged me to listen, to let His truth reshape me. The air vibrated, alive with the promise of transformation. I felt small, unworthy, yet held by a love that saw beyond my failures. My heart yearned to reflect His light, to be a vessel of His grace. The encounter was changing me, preparing me for what lay ahead. The light intensified, wrapping me in warmth, as if embracing my brokenness. I saw my life through His eyes, a story of missed opportunities, but also of hope. Jesus' presence was enough, His truth a guide through my darkness. I stood ready, my soul open, to follow where He led. The air sang, a faint melody of redemption stirring my spirit. I felt the weight of my past, but also the promise of a new beginning. Jesus' silence was a gift, allowing me to face myself fully. The journey continued, his truth leading me deeper. The space was alive, every particle aligned with his will. My heart beat with a new rhythm, one of surrender and faith. I was no longer the pastor I'd been, but a soul being remade. Jesus' presence was my guide, his love my destination. Jesus led me to a place of blinding light, where a mirror stood, not of glass, but of divine truth. In it I saw myself, not as a pastor, but as a jailer, locking souls in cages of lifeless rules. My heart, hardened by years of pride, was laid bare, a stone where flesh should be. Jesus didn't preach, he simply held the mirror, letting me see the truth of my soul. The air was thick, pulsing with a holy energy that exposed every lie I'd told myself. I saw the faces of those I'd judged, trapped by my rigid laws, their spirits crushed under my words. My soul trembled, realizing I'd used God's word to control, not to free. The mirror was unrelenting, showing me the cost of my hypocrisy. Jesus stepped closer, his presence gentle yet unyielding, as if preparing me for a sacred act. No words were needed. His eyes spoke of a love that could transform even my stony heart. I felt a shift within, a spiritual surgery beginning, not to punish but to heal. The air vibrated, alive with the promise of renewal. A verse echoed in my soul, John 3:16, not as a memorized line, but as a living force, for God so loved the world. It cut through me, a scalpel removing the calluses of my pride. Each word was a revelation, unveiling God's heart, his sacrifice, his call to love. My heart softened, the stone giving way to flesh, alive with compassion. The mirror showed my past, moments where I'd preached holiness but lacked mercy. I saw the young girl, her spirit dimmed by my criticism, yearning for acceptance. My soul ached, longing to reach back, to offer the love I'd withheld. Jesus' presence steadied me, guiding me through this painful awakening. The air grew warmer, the light brighter, as if celebrating the change within me. I felt the weight of my rules, my judgments, falling away, replaced by a desire to love as God loves. The verse pulsed, a heartbeat of truth, reshaping my soul. This was no ordinary moment, it was a rebirth. I saw the single mother, her face etched with pain from my rejection, now clear in the mirror. The memory was raw, her struggle a call I'd ignored, choosing doctrine over empathy. I prayed, tears falling, for a chance to make amends. Jesus' light enveloped me, promising a path to restoration. The space around me sang, a chorus of grace that lifted my spirit. My heart, once cold, now beats with a new rhythm, one of humility and love. The surgery was ongoing, each truth a step toward wholeness. John 3:16 was my guide, a verse that held the key to God's heart. The mirror reflected my congregation, their faces softened by the love I'd failed to show. I saw their potential, their hunger for God, dimmed by my harshness. My soul yearned to rebuild, to offer them the truth of God's love. Jesus' presence was my strength, his truth my foundation. The air pulsed, alive with divine purpose, urging me to embrace this new heart. I felt the weight of my past, but also the freedom of forgiveness. The verse echoed again, a promise that God's love could redeem even me. I stood, my soul lighter, ready to live differently. The light intensified, wrapping me in warmth, as if sealing the change within. I saw my daughter, her pain, a wound I'd caused, now a call to love her fully. My heart broke, but it was a holy breaking, making room for God's grace. The surgery was complete, but the journey was just beginning. The space was alive, every particle aligned with God's will. My soul was new, forged in the fire of his truth, ready to reflect his love. John 3:16 was no longer words, but a living truth, guiding my every step. I moved forward, the air singing, my heart remade. Jesus opened a window to my life, each moment unfolding like pages in a sacred book. From childhood to my years as a pastor, every choice, every word was tied to John 3:16, the verse that held God's heart. I saw my pride, my pursuit of recognition, and the times I'd rejected his love for my own glory. My soul trembled, realizing how often I'd chosen the wide road over the narrow path. The air was warm, pulsing with a light that illuminated my past without judgment. I saw a young harper, eager to serve God, but slowly swayed by the allure of authority. My heart ached for the innocence I'd lost, replaced by a need to control. Jesus stood beside me, his presence a reminder that redemption was still possible. A scene appeared, my first sermon, filled with passion but tinged with self-righteousness. The congregation applauded, but I saw their hearts, some wounded by my zeal, others hardened by my rules. My soul cried out, longing to rewrite those moments with love. John 3:16 echoed, a call to live for God's glory, not mine. The light shifted, showing moments of kindness I'd forgotten, small acts of faith that pleased God. A time I comforted a grieving widow, a moment I prayed with a struggling teen, their faces glowed in the vision. Yet these were overshadowed by my failures, my heart heavy with regret. Jesus' gaze was gentle, assuring me there was time to change. I saw my daughter, young and hopeful, before my words drove a wedge between us. Her pregnancy, a moment I'd called a disgrace, now revealed her fear and need for my love. Tears fell as I felt her pain, my soul pleading for a chance to heal her wounds. The verse pulsed, God so loved the world, urging me to love her as he does. The air vibrated, alive with the promise of restoration, guiding me through the review of my life. I saw the single mother, her strength despite my rejection, a testament to God's grace in her. My heart softened, yearning to embrace her, to show the compassion I'd withheld. Jesus' presence was a steady anchor, his love my guide. A memory surfaced, a man who left the church after my harsh rebuke, his faith shattered by my words. His pain was mine now, a weight I couldn't escape, yet the verse offered hope. I prayed for him, for all I'd hurt, asking God to mend what I'd broken. The light grew brighter, as if affirming my plea. The scenes continued, each a lesson tied to John 3:16, revealing God's love as the answer to my failures. I saw moments of pride where I'd sought applause over God's approval, now clear in their emptiness. My soul longed to live differently, to reflect his heart in every word. Jesus' silence was a gift, letting me feel the truth fully. The air sang, a melody of grace that lifted my spirit, promising a new beginning. I saw my congregation, their potential dimmed by my rigidity, yet still hungry for God's love. My heart burned to reach them, to offer the truth I'd missed for so long. The verse was my guide, a beacon through my past. The light enveloped me, warm and healing, as if embracing my brokenness. I saw the young girl, her spirit crushed by my judgment, now a call to love without condition. My soul was changing, shaped by God's truth, ready to serve with humility. John 3:16 was alive, a promise that love could redeem my past. The space around me pulsed, aligned with God's will, urging me to embrace this new path. I felt the weight of my sins, but also the freedom of his grace, a gift I didn't deserve. My heart beat with purpose, to live for his love, not my own glory. The review of my life was a gift, preparing me for what lay ahead. The air was alive, every particle a testament to God's mercy, guiding me forward. My soul was lighter, freed from the chains of pride, ready to reflect his light. Jesus' presence was my strength, his truth my foundation. I moved on, the verse echoing, my heart remade by his love. Jesus led me to a desolate place, where darkness clung like a living thing heavy with despair. The ground burned, jagged and hot, the air thick with the stench of sulfur and sorrow. I saw souls, once vibrant, now bound in torment, their cries a haunting chorus of regret. Each was a story of a life that rejected God's love, now facing the cost of their choices. The light of Jesus illuminated the scene, revealing faces I recognized from the world's stage. A television star, once adored, stood chained, his charisma replaced by anguish, his eyes hollow with remorse. He confessed using his influence to mock faith, leading millions astray, now bearing their pain. My heart sank, realizing the weight of his choices, a warning for my own life. The air pulsed alive with the weight of their suffering, yet Jesus' presence offered a faint hope. I saw a politician, his power gone, writhing in flames, lamenting a life spent chasing glory over God. His cries echoed. I knew the truth, but I chose lies. The scene was a mirror, reflecting my own temptations to prioritize fame over faith. A woman appeared, a singer whose voice once captivated the world, now silenced by her torment. She spoke of rejecting God's call, choosing pleasure over purpose, now trapped in endless regret. Her pain was palpable, a reminder of the fleeting nature of worldly success. My soul ached, seeing the truth of John 3:16 as their only escape. The ground shifted, coals slicing deeper, the heat searing my spirit, urging me to feel their despair. I saw a businessman, his wealth meaningless, confessing he'd ignored the poor, hoarding what God meant for others. His torment was precise, a reflection of his greed, a lesson I couldn't ignore. The air was thick, the stench overwhelming, my heart heavy with their fate. Jesus' light remained, a beacon in the darkness, showing the path they'd missed. I saw a teacher once respected, now broken, admitting she'd taught doubt instead of hope, dimming young hearts. Her cries pierced me, a call to use my influence for God's love, not judgment. The verse echoed, God so loved the world, a truth they'd rejected but I could share. The air vibrated, screams blending into a wail, the stench clinging, my senses drowning in their pain. I saw more souls, their faces twisted, their bodies bound, punished for lives lived without God. My heart raced, the reality of their torment a warning for the living. John 3:16 was their hope, the key to freedom they'd ignored. The scene expanded, revealing countless others, each a story of lost chances, of love refused. A doctor, who valued profit over healing, wept for the lives he'd neglected. His pain was mine, a reminder of my own failures to serve with compassion. The light of Jesus urged me to remember, to carry this truth to others. The ground burned hotter, the air denser, the cries louder, a relentless assault on my soul. I saw a mother, her heart hardened by bitterness, now mourning the children she'd pushed away. Her regret was a mirror, reflecting my own harshness with my daughter. I prayed, tears falling, for strength to love as God loves. The air pulsed, alive with the weight of their choices, yet Jesus' presence offered a path forward. I saw a preacher, like me, bound by pride, confessing he'd preached for applause, not salvation. His torment was a warning, urging me to live John 3:16, not just preach it. My soul was marked, ready to warn others of this fate. The light grew brighter, the stench fading slightly, as if signaling a shift in my journey. I saw the faces of those still living, their paths teetering between light and darkness. My heart burned to reach them, to share the verse that could save them. Jesus' presence was my guide, his love my mission. The air sang, a faint melody of hope, stirring my spirit to act. The soul's cries lingered, a call to proclaim God's love before it was too late. John 3:16 was alive, a truth that could break their chains, if only they'd chosen it. I moved forward, the ground burning, my soul changed by their torment. I awoke in a hospital bed, pain coursing through my body, monitors beeping in a sterile room. The memory of Jesus, the mirror, the tormented souls, was vivid, etched in my soul like a sacred vow. I was no longer the pastor who'd preached with pride, but a woman humbled, unsure how to live this new truth. My heart beat with a quiet resolve to love as he loved, not to dominate with words. The air was cool, the hospital's hum a stark contrast to the burning ground of my vision. Nurses whispered of a miracle, my survival defying medical odds, but I knew it was God's plan. My soul was raw, stripped of pretense, ready to walk a path of humility. The old Harper was gone, replaced by one who longed to listen, to heal. I thought of my daughter, her pain a wound I'd caused, now a call to seek her forgiveness. My heart ached, yearning to hold her, to show the love I'd withheld for so long. I prayed, a soft whisper, asking God for courage to mend what I'd broken. The room felt alive, his presence lingering, guiding my first steps. The congregation's faces flashed in my mind, their trust betrayed by my judgment, yet still hungry for God's love. I vowed to return, not with sermons, but with a heart that reflected John 3:16. My soul was light, freed from the need to prove myself, ready to serve. The hospital bed was a starting point, a place to begin anew. I reached for my Bible, its pages worn, but now alive with new meaning. John 3:16 glowed, a verse that held the key to my transformation to God's heart. My fingers trembled, tracing the words, a promise that love could redeem my past. I prayed again for wisdom to live this truth, to be a vessel of His grace. The air vibrated, a faint echo of the light I'd seen, urging me to act with compassion. I saw the young girl, her spirit crushed by my words, now a call to offer acceptance. My heart softened, ready to embrace those I'd pushed away. Jesus' presence was my strength, His love my guide. A nurse entered, her smile kind, unaware of the journey I'd taken. I spoke softly, thanking her, my voice different, infused with a warmth I'd rarely shown. My soul was changing, shaped by God's truth, ready to reflect His light. The hospital was a temporary stop, my mission waiting beyond its walls. The light of morning filtered through the window, a reminder of the new day God had given me. I thought of the single mother, her strength a lesson in resilience, now a call to honor her. My heart burned to reach her, to show the compassion I'd lacked. John 3:16 was my guide, a truth that would shape my every step. I felt small, unworthy, yet chosen, my sins forgiven, my life redirected by His mercy. The air was calm, the hospital's hum a backdrop to my resolve. My soul was marked, ready to live differently, to love without condition. The journey back to life was a gift, a chance to reflect His heart. The faces of those I'd hurt lingered, their pain a call to action, to rebuild with love. I prayed for strength, for boldness, to seek their forgiveness, to show them God's grace. My heart was new, forged in the fire of His truth, ready to serve. The hospital bed was a place of rebirth, my mission clear. The air sang a faint melody of redemption, stirring my spirit to move forward. I saw my congregation, their potential a light I'd dimmed, now a call to nurture. My soul was alive, ready to proclaim John 3:16, not with words but with my life. I stood metaphorically ready to walk this new path. The light grew brighter, the hospital fading as my purpose took hold. My heart beat with a rhythm of love, of surrender, of faith in His plan. Jesus' presence was my anchor, His truth my foundation. I was ready, my soul remade, to live for Him alone. I returned to my church, not as the commanding pastor, but as a servant, my heart shaped by God's love. The pulpit felt different, no longer a stage for my pride, but a place to share John 3:16 with humility. I began by listening, visiting those I'd hurt, offering apologies, not with words but with actions. The air was alive, vibrating with the promise of restoration, urging me to rebuild with compassion. I met the young girl, now a woman, her eyes wary but hopeful, as I asked for her forgiveness. Her tears met mine, a bridge forming where judgment once stood, a testament to God's healing. My soul lightened, realizing love could mend what rules had broken. John 3:16 was my guide, a verse that called me to love first always. The single mother welcomed me into her home, her strength a lesson in grace, her forgiveness a gift I didn't deserve. We prayed together, her hand in mine, the air warm with God's presence, sealing our bond. My heart softened, ready to honor her, to show the compassion I'd withheld. The gospel was alive, not in my sermons, but in this moment. I sought my daughter, her pain a wound I'd caused, now a call to love her fully. We sat, tears falling, as I confessed my failures, promising to be the mother she needed. Her embrace was a miracle, a reflection of God's mercy, my soul marked by this reunion. John 3:16 was our foundation, a truth that rebuilt what I'd torn down. The congregation noticed the change, their faces softening as I shared my story, my heart open, my words gentle. I no longer wielded scripture to condemn, but to reflect God's love, to invite them into His grace. The air pulsed, alive with hope, as they responded, their faith renewed. My mission was clear, to live the gospel, not just preach it. I visited a man who'd left the church, his heart hardened by my rebuke, now open to my apology. We talked, his story unfolding, his pain a call to listen, to love without condition. My soul was humbled, ready to serve, to show him God's heart. The verse echoed, a promise that love could heal even the deepest wounds. The air was warm, the church alive with a new spirit, one of compassion and grace. I saw the faces of those I'd judged now welcomed, their stories valued, their hearts lifted. My heart burned to continue, to build a community rooted in John 3:16. This was the gospel, a call to love, to be broken and remade. I preached again, but differently, my words soft, my heart open, inviting others to see God's love. The congregation listened, their eyes bright, their spirits stirred by the truth of His grace. The air sang a melody of redemption, urging us to live for Him. My soul was alive, ready to lead with humility, with love. The light of God's truth illuminated our gatherings, the church a place of healing, not judgment. I saw the young girl now singing in the choir, her spirit free, a testament to His grace. My heart rejoiced, knowing this was His work, His love at work. John 3:16 was our guide, a verse that changed everything. The air vibrated, alive with purpose, as we grew together, a community shaped by God's heart. I felt small, yet chosen, my past a lesson, my present a gift, my future His. My soul was marked, ready to serve, to love without condition. The gospel was no longer words, but a life lived for Him. The faces of those I'd hurt became my mission, their healing my purpose, their joy my reward. I prayed for strength, for wisdom, to continue this work, to reflect His light. The air was calm, the church a sanctuary of grace, a place where love reigned. John 3:16 was alive, a truth that guided us all. The light grew brighter, the air singing, as we walked this path together, united in His love. My heart was new, forged in the fire of His truth, ready to lead with compassion. Jesus' presence was our strength, His love our foundation. I moved forward, my soul remained, ready to live for Him. Jesus' truth settled in my soul, a call not to be perfect, but to surrender fully to His love. John 3:16 was not a distant promise, but a living reality, saving sinners, healing the broken, welcoming the rejected. My heart, once hardened, now beats with a rhythm of grace, ready to love as He loves. The air was alive, vibrating with the promise of a life transformed by surrender. I understand now, God's love doesn't wait for change, it meets us in our mess, offering redemption first. The young girl, the single mother, my daughter, their pain was a call to love them as they were, not as I wanted them to be. My soul was light, freed from the need to control, ready to reflect His heart. The verse echoed, a truth that changed how I saw everyone. The air pulsed warm and holy as I embraced this new way of living, one of humility and compassion. I saw the congregation, their imperfections a mirror of my own, yet each soul precious to God. My heart burned to serve them, to show them the love of John 3:16, not with sermons, but with my life. Surrender was my path, His love my guide. I visited those I'd judged, listening to their stories, their pain, and a lesson in God's grace. A man, once shunned for his doubts, shared his heart, his faith renewed by my apology. My soul rejoiced, seeing the power of love to heal, to restore. The verse was alive, a promise that no one was beyond His reach. The light of God's truth illuminated my every step, showing me that surrender meant trusting His plan, not mine. I saw my daughter, her heart softening, our bond growing, a testament to His mercy. My heart was full, ready to love her fully, to walk beside her in faith. John 3:16 was our anchor, a truth that held us together. The air sang, a melody of redemption, urging me to continue, to love without condition. I felt small, unworthy, yet chosen, my past a lesson, my present a gift. My soul was marked, ready to serve, to show the world God's heart. Surrender was not weakness, but strength, rooted in His love. I preached with a new voice, soft yet powerful, inviting others to surrender, to embrace His grace. The congregation responded, their faces bright, their hearts open to the truth of John 3:16. The air was alive, pulsing with hope, as we grew together in faith. My mission was clear, to lead with love, not perfection. The faces of those I'd hurt became my purpose, their healing a reflection of God's work in me. I prayed for strength, for boldness to continue this journey, to reflect His light. The air was calm, the church a place of grace, where love was the only rule. The verse was our guide, a truth that shaped our every step. I saw the single mother, now a leader in the church, her strength a testament to God's love. Her story inspired others, a reminder that surrender opens the door to His grace. My heart rejoiced, knowing this was His plan, His love at work. John 3:16 was alive, a promise that changed lives. The air vibrated, alive with purpose, as we walked this path together, united in His love. I felt the weight of my past, but also the freedom of His grace, a gift I didn't deserve. My soul was new, ready to serve, to love without condition. Surrender was my calling, His love my strength. The light grew brighter, the air singing, as we grew together, a community shaped by God's heart. My heart was new, forged in the fire of His truth, ready to lead with compassion. Jesus' presence was our anchor, His love our foundation. I moved forward, my soul remained, ready to live for Him. The faces of the broken, the rejected, the lost were now my mission, their healing my purpose. I prayed for wisdom, for courage, to show them God's love, to reflect John 3:16. The air was alive, every particle aligned with His will, guiding me forward. Surrender was my path, His love my destination. Harper's journey is a powerful reminder that God's love, revealed in John 3:16, is the heart of the Bible, calling us to surrender, not perfection. If you've been hurt by faith or hurt others in God's name, know that His arms are open, His cross still calls you home. Share your name, city, and a prayer in the comments, and join a community seeking His truth. Stay tuned for another near-death experience testimony, a story that will stir your soul and draw you closer to Him. In the grip of death, 4 words can shift eternity's course. That is the bold testimony of the man we introduced today, an atheist who believed no force could save him when his life slipped away. Yet when his soul plunged into a terrifying abyss, God reached down, pulling him free after he uttered those 4 words. What were they? Stay until the end to discover why God saved a man who rejected Him. Comment Amen with your name and city to affirm your faith, and we will lift you in prayer before the Lord. Subscribe to our channel for more truths the world seeks to hide. Now, open your heart to the story of a man transformed by grace. My name is Sebastian, a university professor rooted in materialism, trusting only the rigid truths of science. I dismissed the spiritual, despite my family's deep Christian faith, which I viewed as quaint superstition. My life revolved around logic, with no room for the divine. One ordinary afternoon, while grading exams in my cluttered-up office, a sharp pain tore through my abdomen. It was unlike anything I had ever felt, a searing agony that stole my breath. I crumpled to the floor, papers scattering around me. A janitor, mopping nearby, heard my groans and rushed to my side. His quick call for help summoned an ambulance, and I was whisked to the hospital. Doctors discovered my appendix had burst, ignored for too long, poisoning my body. In the emergency room, my condition worsened, teetering on the edge of death. Miraculously, after my heart stopped for 5 minutes, it began beating again. I survived, unaware that those 5 minutes would reshape my existence. Everyone around me celebrated my recovery, oblivious to the journey I had undertaken. I had seen the depths of hell, been lifted to heaven's light, and met God Himself. The experience was too profound to keep silent, so I began writing this account. That moment of collapse was only the beginning of my story. My soul had ventured beyond the physical, into a realm I once denied. The hospital bed became the starting point of a transformation I never expected. In those 5 minutes of clinical death, I encountered truths that shattered my skepticism. Nurses and doctors saw only my body, but my soul had traveled far beyond. This letter is my attempt to share that sacred journey. The pain had been a cruel teacher, stripping away my arrogance in an instant. As I lay recovering, I knew I could no longer live as the man I had been. My heart, once cold, now burned with a need to tell my story. The pain was excruciating, yet I sensed the medics lifting me onto a stretcher and rushing me into an ambulance. My university was near the hospital, and I held on, conscious of the chaos around me, until the emergency room's doors swung open. There, the agony overwhelmed me, and I let go, slipping into clinical death. My soul awakened, vibrant and clear, as if life had never been so vivid. I gazed at my body on the hospital bed, mistaking it for a lifeless mannequin. I called to the nurses, but my voice fell silent, and panic surged as no one responded. Confusion gripped me. I was no longer tethered to my physical form. The room's sterile walls seemed to pulse faintly, unfamiliar yet real. I reached for the bed, but my hand passed through, weightless and intangible. Anger flared as I shouted again, my cries swallowed by an eerie void. The monitors beeped steadily, indifferent to my presence hovering above. I was a spectre in a world that no longer saw me. Desperation drove me toward the door, seeking anyone who could hear me. The hallway stretched unnaturally, its lights flickering with a strange range rhythm. A subtle pull urged me forward, away from the room. Something whispered that I was stepping beyond the life I knew. The air grew dense, the hospital's antiseptic scent fading into a damp chill. I glanced back at my body, a distant shell, and a strange calm settled over me. Yet unease stirred, hinting at the unknown awaiting me. My soul, unbound, was on the edge of something vast. The hospital walls blurred, dissolving into a grey mist that enveloped me. My thoughts raced, grappling with this new existence I had once denied. I had scoffed at the soul's reality, yet here I was, alive in a way I could not comprehend. The journey had begun, and I was already adrift. As the mist thickened, reality seemed to bend, pulling me deeper into the unknown. Fear mingled with curiosity, each step a surrender to forces beyond my control. I was no longer the skeptic I had been. I was a soul, vulnerable and exposed. What lay ahead was a mystery I could not escape. As the hospital's last traces faded, a voice called my name from the grey mist, its tone soft yet commanding, drawing me like a siren's song. I assumed it was a hospital worker, a lifeline in this disorienting realm, and followed eagerly, desperate for clarity. The voice grew colder, and the mist darkened into a suffocating void, revealing my guides as shadowy figures with hollow eyes. These were no human souls, but malevolent spirits, their forms twisting like smoke, their laughter a blade against my spirit. They taunted me, not for denying God, but for lacking any shield in this realm, my soul an easy target for their cruelty. Their hands, cold as iron, gripped me, burning my essence with each touch, while their voices whispered my fears, amplifying them into torment. They dragged me into a cavernous abyss where light was a forgotten dream, and the air pulsed with despair. I was their prey, a newcomer they relished breaking, my screams fueling their malice. The darkness was alive, its weight crushing me as the spirits circled, their forms shifting into grotesque shapes. They conjured visions of my life, twisting moments of pride into accusations that seared my soul. Each attack was a calculated wound, designed to unravel my identity. I tried to resist, but my strength was nothing against their relentless assault. Their torment grew more savage, as if they sensed my weakening resolve. They clawed at my memories, forcing me to relive failures in vivid detail, each scene a fresh agony. My soul burned, not with fire, but with the shame they amplified. I was drowning in their hatred, my essence fraying under their unending cruelty. The spirits mocked my scientific certainty, their voices a chorus of derision that echoed in the void. They shaped the darkness into chains, binding me as they tore at my spirit. I felt myself fading, my sense of self slipping away. The abyss offered no escape, only the promise of eternal suffering. As I sank deeper, a new torment emerged. They forced me to see others trapped in this realm, their faces contorted in agony. Their screams blended with mine, a symphony of despair that shook me to my core. I realized this was no temporary punishment, it was a place of unending torment. My heart, or what remained of it, cried out for release, but none came. The spirits' attacks grew more intimate, probing my deepest insecurities. They showed me my students, their faces filled with disappointment, and my family, their prayers unanswered because of my coldness. Each vision was a dagger, twisting in wounds I had ignored in life. I was powerless, my soul a canvas for their cruelty. Time lost meaning, each moment stretching into an eternity of pain. The spirits fed on my fear, their forms growing stronger as I weakened. I curled inward, trying to protect what little of myself remained. Yet even that small act of defiance seemed futile against their overwhelming power. The darkness pulsed, as if alive with their hatred, and I felt my soul splintering. They whispered that I belonged here, that this was my fate for a life of arrogance. Doubt crept in, and I wondered if they were right. The abyss was consuming me, and hope was a word I could no longer recall. As I teetered on the edge of surrender, a faint memory stirred a classroom debate where a student debated Sui. The spirits sensed my distraction and tightened their grip, their claws sinking deeper. But that memory, fragile as it was, became a lifeline. It was the first crack in the darkness, a whisper of something beyond this nightmare. In the depths of my torment, where the darkness seemed to choke my very soul, a voice pierced through, gentle yet unwavering, urging me to pray to God. As an atheist I recoiled, my mind branding it a delusion born of desperation, a trick of a fractured spirit. Yet the voice lingered, its warmth a stark contrast to the icy malice of the spirits clawing at me. Their relentless attacks surged, and I realized I had nothing left to lose in this suffocating abyss. My skepticism, a fortress I had built over decades, warred against the voice's call, but the pain was a relentless tide, pushing me towards surrender. I fumbled through memories, grasping at a prayer my mother taught me long ago. "The Lord is my shepherd." Whispering it, my voice barely audible, I felt the spirits pause, their fury disrupted as if struck by an unseen force. Their hesitation was fleeting, and they lunged back with renewed savagery, as if my words had ignited their wrath. I repeated the prayer, my trembling voice finding strength with each syllable. The spirits shrieked, their shadowy forms flickering like candles caught in a storm. The prayer became a fragile shield, its power real yet tenuous, holding back their assault for a moment. I clung to it, sensing it was my only anchor in this endless sea of darkness. Their rage escalated, their voices twisting my prayer into a mocking chant, each word dripping with venom. Yet each recitation of the prayer weakened their grip, as if it carried a divine authority they could not fully defy. The holy voice, now clearer, urged me to press on, its presence a quiet strength amidst the chaos. A spark of hope ignited within me, the first I had felt since falling into this nightmare. The spirits shifted their approach, whispering doubts to erode my newfound resolve. They sneered that my prayer was a hollow gesture, meaningless in their domain of despair. I faltered, my mind teetering on the edge of surrender, but the holy voice grew insistent, promising protection. With a surge of determination, I prayed again, my conviction rising like a flame against the cold. The darkness seemed to recoil, its oppressive weight lifting ever so slightly, as if afraid of my words. The spirits' forms blurred, their once solid shapes dissolving at the edges, their power waning. I sensed a battle unfolding, not just for my soul, but for my will to resist. The prayer was no longer a distant memory, it was a weapon, forged in the fire of desperation and nascent faith. Their attacks grew frantic, as if they sensed their dominion slipping away. Cracks appeared in the abyss, faint glimmers of light piercing the suffocating void like stars in a moonless night. The holy voice grew louder, its rhythm guiding my prayer, steadying my trembling spirit. I was no longer alone, and that realization fueled my defiance, pushing me to fight harder. The spirits' screams reached a deafening crescendo, their forms writhing as if burned by my words. My soul, battered but unbroken, began to feel a flicker of wholeness, as if the prayer was stitching me back together. The darkness pulsed, its foundations trembling under the weight of my growing resolve. I pressed on, each word a step towards salvation, a bridge to something greater than this torment. Their assault became chaotic, their once coordinated attacks now desperate and disjointed. The holy voice, now a beacon, cut through their cacophony, urging me to hold fast. I saw the spirits' eyes, once filled with malice, now flickering with fear. My prayer was dismantling their power, and I felt a surge of courage I had never known. The abyss itself seemed to groan, its walls shuddering as if unable to contain the light my words summoned. The spirits clawed at me one last time, their touch weaker, their voices fading into echoes. I stood taller, my soul no longer shrinking under their weight. The holy voice was my guide, leading me through the chaos toward a distant hope. I recalled my mother's face, her hands folded in prayer, teaching me those sacred words in our quiet kitchen. The memory strengthened me, grounding my soul in a truth I had long rejected. The spirits sensed this shift and howled, their forms fraying like smoke in the wind. My prayer was now a song, its melody rising above their discord, pulling me closer to deliverance. The darkness began to fracture, its oppressive grip loosening as light seeped through the cracks. The holy voice spoke again, its tone both gentle and commanding, promising I was not forsaken. I felt a connection to something eternal, a power that transcended the abyss. My soul, once lost, was finding its way, guided by the prayer I had once dismissed. The spirits' forms grew faint, their screams reduced to whispers as my prayer grew louder. I saw their shapes dissolve, their malice no longer able to hold me. The holy voice was now a chorus, filling the void with a warmth that banished the cold. I was no longer their victim, I was a soul reclaiming its strength, ready for the next step in this divine battle. When the torment reached its unbearable peak and every corner of my soul felt crushed beneath the weight of despair, I cried out with everything I had left inside me. "Jesus, please save me," I shouted into the choking darkness, again and again, until the final syllable tore from my throat, like a lifeline cast into eternity. For a brief moment, nothing responded. The silence deepened, the shadows thickened, and I thought all was lost. Then suddenly a brilliance erupted before me, piercing through the abyss like lightning cracking through a storm-filled sky. The darkness recoiled, and the weight that had suffocated me for what felt like forever began to lift. From the center of that light emerged a figure, radiant and unmistakable. It was Jesus, clothed not only in light but in a presence so powerful and holy that even the shadows around him trembled and vanished. He didn't speak at first, he didn't need to. His gaze met mine, and in that gaze I felt everything change. The fear, the guilt, the emptiness, the years of disbelief all melted away like frost in sunlight. I felt seen, not for what I had done or failed to do, but for who I truly was underneath the doubt and sin. His love enveloped me like a warmth I had never known. My soul, fractured and filthy, was lifted into something whole, something beloved. He extended his hand toward me, and I reached for it without hesitation. The moment our fingers touched, a surge of peace thundered through me. The tormenting spirits vanished in an instant, scattered by his presence like leaves in a storm. Their twisted screams were drowned in the silence of his authority. I could breathe again, not with lungs, but with my soul, as if I had just been born anew. He pulled me from the pit with gentleness that stunned me, and yet every movement of his was filled with the force of divine power. As I rose, I felt the residue of hell slide off me, like mud washed away by a river of mercy. The agony that had gripped me just moments before was replaced by an unspeakable joy. It was not merely relief from suffering. It was the discovery that love himself had come for me, even though I had not believed in him. The light around us expanded, pushing the abyss further and further behind. I looked into his face, and it was like staring into eternity made flesh. There were no words to describe his beauty, not just in appearance but in essence. It was the kind of beauty that makes everything else seem false, the kind that strips away all masks and reveals your soul exactly as it is. But there was no condemnation in his eyes, only a fierce and holy tenderness. We moved upward, though there were no wings or steps, only light carrying us like music carries a song. I was surrounded by something more real than the world I had once known. Time slowed, then quickened, then seemed to stop altogether, and I was aware of nothing but him. His hand never let go of mine. His grip was strong but kind, like a father guiding a child through unfamiliar territory. Below us, I could still sense the remnants of the place I had come from, but it could not reach me anymore. His light shielded me, and even my memories of the torment began to fade into the distance. Instead, I saw other souls, distant yet near, some being drawn upward like me, others lost in confusion or despair. Yet in the presence of Jesus, there was no room for fear. There was only trust. He spoke my name not aloud, but directly into my spirit. That sound healed something ancient in me, something I hadn't known was broken. I felt like a son returning home after a lifetime of exile. I was not merely rescued. I was claimed. As we ascended, a host of shimmering figures appeared around us, silent and full of reverence. Angels, perhaps, though they did not introduce themselves. Their presence did not distract me, for Jesus remained the center. Every light around us came from him, and everything within me clung to him. I looked down one final time, not in fear, but in awe. The darkness I had once been trapped in looked small now, like a dream fading at dawn. I realized that it had no power over me anymore, not since I called out his name. That cry, "Jesus, please save me," had not just saved me from death. It had torn open the veil between heaven and earth and brought me face to face with the living God. We kept rising, and I wept not from pain but from a joy so deep it felt like singing with every fiber of my being. I was no longer afraid. I was no longer alone. I was held in the arms of the one who created me, the one who died for me, and the one who had answered me in the abyss. This was not the end of my story. It was the beginning. Jesus guided me through a radiant void, a shimmering threshold that opened into a realm of boundless light, heaven itself. He led me to a lake, its waters glowing with a divine warmth that seemed to pulse with life, and gently lowered me into its embrace. As the waters enveloped me, my pain dissolved, my wounds healed, and the chaos in my mind unraveled, leaving only clarity. I emerged reborn, my soul cleansed as if the abyss's touch had never scarred me. I stood trembling, feeling unworthy, certain Jesus had mistaken me for another more deserving soul. He met my doubt with a gaze of unwavering certainty, saying, "I never err. You are mine, lost but now found." His words were a balm, soothing my fears and igniting a sense of belonging I had never known. The lake's light reflected a truth I could no longer deny, anchoring me in this divine reality. Heaven unfolded before us, a tapestry of colors and sounds that transcended earthly imagination, each hue singing with joy. Fields of light stretched endlessly, their patterns dancing like waves of love made visible. Walking with Jesus felt like a silent conversation, his presence filling me with awe and wonder. This was no mere place, it was the essence of divine love, a home my soul had always sought. We moved through groves where light bloomed like flowers, each petal a note in a silent symphony that resonated within me. Jesus' silence was as profound as his words, teaching me truths beyond language. My soul, once bound by skepticism, drank in the beauty, shedding the doubts that had defined me. I was home, though I had never known this place until now. The air shimmered with a warmth that felt alive, as if heaven itself reached out to welcome me. I glimpsed other souls, their forms radiant and fluid, moving in harmony with the light, their joy a melody in the air. Jesus guided me past them, his hand a constant reassurance, grounding me in this eternal realm. Each step deepened my understanding, revealing heaven as a reflection of divine unity. We paused at a stream, its crystalline waters singing as they flowed over stones that glowed like stars. Jesus knelt, touching the surface, and images of my life rippled across it, moments of choice and consequence laid bare. I saw my actions, good and bad, but felt no judgment, only his desire for me to learn and grow. The stream song wove my story into heaven's eternal tapestry, a testament to his mercy. Heaven's light grew brighter, revealing structures that were not buildings but living expressions of divine will, shifting to reflect the souls within. Jesus explained, without words, that heaven was a realm of infinite possibilities, shaped by love's boundless creativity. My mind, once confined by logic, expanded to embrace this truth, marveling at its complexity. Each revelation was a gift, reshaping my understanding of existence. The journey felt timeless, yet I sensed its purpose, to prepare me for a mission yet to come. Jesus' presence was my anchor, guiding me through wonders that stretched beyond comprehension. I longed to remain, to lose myself in this light forever, but his gaze hinted at a calling I could not ignore. My soul, now alive with purpose, was ready to follow his lead. We crossed a meadow where light pulsed like a heartbeat, each wave carrying whispers of eternal truths. I saw souls dancing, their movements a celebration of divine love, and felt a longing to join them. Jesus smiled, his presence assuring me that my place among them was secure. The meadow's light wove it itself into my soul, a promise of eternity. As we walked, I asked Jesus about the nature of heaven, and he showed me its layers, each a reflection of a soul's alignment with love. His answers were visions, immersing me in realms where joy and truth intertwined. My questions, once rooted in doubt, now sought to understand his heart. Heaven was not just a destination, it was a state of being, alive with his presence. The air grew sweeter, filled with a fragrance that spoke of divine compassion. I saw a city of light, its spires reaching toward an infinite sky, each structure a song of praise. Jesus led me through its streets, where souls greeted us with silent joy, their eyes reflecting his light. My soul swelled, knowing I was part of this eternal community. We paused at a cliff overlooking a sea of light, its waves crashing with a melody that echoed creation's first breath. Jesus spoke of my life, not to condemn but to reveal my potential. His voice was a gentle fire, burning away my doubts and igniting a purpose within me. I felt both humbled and empowered, ready to carry his light back to the world. The journey continued, each moment a revelation of heaven's depth and beauty. I saw gardens where every flower sang, their petals shimmering with stories of redeemed souls. Jesus' presence was a constant, his love the thread that wove every wonder together. My soul, once lost, was now a vessel for his truth, ready for the mission ahead. Jesus and a host of angels unveiled my life, a vivid panorama unfolding across the heavens like a film woven from light itself. Every moment of my existence played out my triumphs in academia, my failures in kindness, and the hearts I had either touched or ignored. I saw myself as a professor, brilliant in my lectures, but distant in my soul, achieving professional success while failing those who needed my warmth. The angels' judgment was stark, assigning me an F in love, their verdict a mirror, reflecting my deep-seated selfishness. The scenes were relentless, each one a piercing reminder of my indifference. I watched a student, her eyes bright with hope, approach me for guidance, only to be dismissed with a curt wave of my hand. Her dreams, fragile, unformed, crumbled under my coldness, and the pain of her disappointment struck me like a physical blow. Jesus stood beside me, his silence a gentle urging to confront the truth without shrinking from it. A memory of my mother surfaced, her hands folded in prayer each night, her heart heavy with love for a son who mocked her faith. Her tears, unseen in life, now glistened in the heavenly light, each one a wound to my soul. Jesus whispered, "Love is why you were made," his voice both a judgment and a beacon of hope. Those words stirred a longing to redeem the years I had wasted in pride. The review deepened, revealing moments I had buried, kind words I spoke carelessly, cruel silences I wielded like weapons. Each scene was a lesson, showing how my actions rippled through the lives of others, leaving traces of joy or pain. I yearned to return, to heal the wounds I had inflicted with my neglect. Jesus' presence, steady and compassionate, assured me that redemption was within reach. The angels paused at a fleeting moment I had nearly forgotten, a winter evening when I gave my coat to a homeless man shivering outside my office. His gratitude, unnoticed in my rush, now glowed like a star in the tapestry of my life, its light piercing the darkness of my failures. Jesus smiled, his eyes revealing that even small acts of love carried eternal weight. The contrast with my countless oversights fueled a resolve to live differently. Another scene unfolded, a family dinner where my siblings reached out, their voices warm with affection, only for me to retreat into my work. Their hurt lingered in the air, a silent accusation of my absence, their faces etched with disappointment I had ignored. The angels' voices echoed softly, "Relationships are your true legacy." I vowed, with a heart newly awakened, to mend those fractured bonds if given the chance. The review continued, each memory a thread in the intricate weave of my existence. I saw how my skepticism had built walls, isolating me from those who sought connection. Jesus' gaze held no condemnation, only a challenge to tear down those barriers and live with love as my guide. My soul ached with the weight of missed opportunities, yet it burned with a new purpose. A painful scene emerged, a colleague, his kindness met with my sharp dismissal, his smile fading as I turned away. The angels showed me the ripple of that moment, how his confidence waned, affecting others in ways I never imagined. Jesus' hand rested on my shoulder, a silent reminder that I could still make amends. The weight of my failures was heavy, but his presence offered hope for change. The angels shifted to a classroom, where a student's potential dimmed to sad and patience. She was now a teacher, struggling with self-doubt because I had not believed in her. Jesus' touch was gentle, his voice urging me to inspire rather than discourage. The scene faded, but its lesson etched itself into my soul, a call to nurture rather than neglect. Another memory surfaced, a late-night argument with my brother, my words cutting deeper than I intended. His pain, hidden behind a forced smile, now stood bare before me, a wound I had caused. The angel's judgment was clear. My pride had cost me dearly. I longed to embrace him, to replace my harshness with love, if only I could return. The review revealed smaller moments, acts of kindness I dismissed as trivial, cruelties I justified as necessary. Each was a thread in my life story, showing how even fleeting interactions shaped others' lives. Jesus' silence was a teacher, guiding me to see the eternal impact of my choices. My heart, once cold, now burned with a desire to live for others. The final scenes focused on my students, their faces a gallery of potential I had often overlooked. One, a quiet girl with a gift for writing, had faltered because I offered critique without encouragement. Jesus' presence reminded me that love could still inspire, even now. The review ended, but its lessons became a fire within me, urging me to live with purpose. As the panorama faded, I stood before Jesus, my soul laid bare, its flaws and fleeting virtues exposed. The angels' voices softened, their judgment complete, leaving me with a clarity I had never known. Jesus' gaze, warm and resolute, promised a chance to rewrite my story. I was ready to return, not as the man I had been, but as one transformed by love's eternal call. Jesus opened my mind, his presence a radiant gateway to the universe's deepest secrets, inviting me to ask anything without fear. My heart trembled at the chance to unravel mysteries I had once dismissed as a skeptic. I questioned the enigma of death, and he revealed that most souls, unaware of their passing, find pain fading into a clarity beyond earthly grasp. Infants who die are reborn in his light, spared judgment, while Christians face a celestial tribunal where only 2.43% remain steadfast in faith. His words reshaped my view of eternity, burning away doubts that had anchored me to materialism. I saw souls transitioning, their earthly burdens dissolving into divine understanding. The revelation ignited wonder, replacing my rigid skepticism with awe. My mind, once confined, soared with the freedom of his truth. I asked about the cosmos, and he unveiled its vastness, a tapestry of realms woven with divine intent, each thread pulsing with purpose. Earth, he explained, is a crucible where spiritual awareness flickers but holds infinite potential for growth. His answers were visions, immersing me in truths I had once mocked. I saw galaxies spinning in harmony, each star a note in his symphony. My mind expanded, embracing the infinite expanse of his creation. The cosmos was no longer a cold void, but a living testament to his design. Each vision deepened my awe, as if I were seeing the universe anew. My soul, once bound by logic, now danced with the rhythm of his creation. I inquired about suffering's purpose, a question born from years of dismissing pain as meaningless. He showed me its role as a forge, shaping love and resilience, his own cross a testament to a sacrifice binding him to humanity. His voice wove complex truths into simple grace, filling me with humility and hope. Suffering, I saw, was a sculptor, carving strength from weakness. Every pain was a thread in the tapestry of redemption, a truth that struck me with awe. I felt uplifted, my questions met with care that spoke of divine love. The vision of his cross lingered, grounding me in its eternal weight. Suffering was not an end, but a path to deeper connection with him. Why me? I asked, a skeptic plucked from the abyss's jaws, my voice trembling with disbelief. Jesus smiled, his eyes radiating love that saw a hidden spark of faith beneath my doubt. He said my soul had called to him, marking me for a purpose I was beginning to grasp. I was no accident, chosen by his boundless mercy. His answer pierced my heart, revealing a love that had always been there. I saw my life as a journey. He had walked with me, even in my denial. The realization humbled me, filling me with a sense of destiny. I felt both small and significant, resolved in his gaze. I questioned the afterlife structure, and he revealed layers of existence, each reflecting a soul's alignment with love's eternal rhythm. Souls drifted or ascended based on their choices, guided by his mercy. The vision was overwhelming, yet his presence made it clear, grounding me in truth. I saw my place in this cosmic dance, woven into his divine whole. The afterlife unfolded like a celestial map, each realm vibrant with purpose. I saw souls moving through these planes, some rising, others lingering, yet all within his reach. His mercy was a current, guiding each toward redemption. My heart swelled, knowing I was part of this divine order. I asked about war, its chaos a wound I could not fathom. He showed me its roots in pride and fear, fracturing humanity's unity. Forgiveness, he said, could heal even the deepest scars, rippling across realms. His words were a call to embody this truth in the world below. The vision of war scars showed battlefields and broken hearts, yet his promise of forgiveness shone brighter. A single act of grace could shift destinies, a truth I longed to share. My soul expanded with this wisdom, eager to sow peace. His words settled within me, a mission to heal conflict. I sought God's plan for humanity, and he unveiled a vision of unity, fractured by pride but redeemable through love. Earth was a school, its lessons harsh yet eternal, awakening souls to their divine purpose. His voice carried sorrow for the world's blindness and resolve for its redemption. I felt a responsibility to carry this message to the lost. Humanity's potential was breathtaking, a world where love could mend what pride had torn. I saw souls awakening, their hearts turning toward his light. His sorrow for the lost urged me to act with courage. My purpose clarified, a vow to bridge Earth's brokenness with his plan. I asked about the fate of the lost, their cries echoing in my memory. He showed me souls adrift, yet never beyond his reach, guided by unfaltering mercy. His vision was a tapestry of hope, each soul a thread he longed to weave into his embrace. My heart ached, vowing to be a voice for his love. The lost appeared, their faces etched with longing, yet his light pursued them relentlessly. His mercy was a river, flowing toward the darkest corners. This vision filled me with resolve to guide others to his light. My soul, once adrift, burned with a mission to help the lost. I questioned faith's nature, and he revealed it as a seed, growing through trust and surrender. Even my doubt, he said, was a path to this moment, a journey he walked with me. His words ignited a faith I had never known. I felt reshaped, a vessel of his truth. Faith was a spark that could grow into a flame, sustained by surrender. I saw my doubts as stepping stones to this awakening. His presence turned skepticism into vibrant belief. The fire of faith burned brightly, ready to light the way for others. The dialogue stretched on, each question a step deeper into his heart. His answers were seeds, planted in my soul for the world I would return to. I longed to stay, but his gaze hinted at a purpose awaiting me. My skepticism was gone, replaced by a fire to serve his plan. As the conversation closed, I felt heaven prepare me for departure. Jesus' final words charged me to carry his truth with courage and love. My soul, a vessel of his wisdom, was ready to return, transformed. I left enlightened, my heart a beacon for the world below. Though heaven called me to stay, Jesus insisted I return to fulfill my purpose. I awoke in the hospital, my body frail but my spirit alive with newfound faith. A young man, dressed as a doctor with golden hair, comforted me, his voice assuring me of safety before he vanished. The nurse swore no such figure had entered, and I knew he was an angel, sent to affirm my journey's truth. My recovery stunned the doctors, who called it inexplicable, yet I knew its source. I began reading scripture, its words now alive, and joined a church, sharing my story each Sunday. The congregation embraced me, their faith strengthened by my testimony. I lived to spread this truth, to call others to the God who saved me. Each day I reflect on heaven's light, its lessons guiding my every choice. My heart, once cold, now burns with love, eager to heal the bonds I broke. I speak of Jesus, not as a distant figure, but as the one who held my hand. My life is his, a witness to his unending grace. The angel's visit remains vivid, a reminder that my experience was no dream. I see his face in quiet moments, his eyes urging me to stay true. My story, shared weekly, draws others closer to God, their questions sparking my own growth. I am no longer the atheist I was. I am a messenger of hope. I visit my mother's grave, praying for her and thanking her for her faith that saved me. Her memory fuels my mission, a bridge to my family, whom I now embrace. Each sermon I give is a step toward redemption, a chance to live as Jesus taught. The church has become my home, its people my family. The world feels different now, its challenges, opportunities to show love. I teach my students with patience, their growth a reflection of my own. My story, once a secret, is now a light for others, its truth undeniable. Jesus' call is my guide, and I walk it with unwavering faith. Sebastian's testimony has ended, but its message endures. The only certainty, the only salvation is God. Spiritual transformation is simple, just call His name. Share your thoughts in the comments, and let us discuss the power of His love together.